Hello, I'm Hazer Archer, and this is my final presentation for Business Ethics 501 Laws, Ethics, and Social Responsibilities here at Eastern New Mexico University. Today's topic will include the laws and ethics related to employee and employer sick leave in the state of Washington. First off, let me provide you with two scenarios to apply our discussion to during the duration of this presentation. The first. Your mother was just diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer, which is the number one deadliest cancer in the United States. She is about to receive multiple treatments, and you are the only person available to care for her because your dad cannot take any more time off, and your brother and sister live too far away to make trips home to care for her. It is a very harsh way to begin an example, but the fact is, it's reality and happens every single day. You have only 1 week of vacation that you really want to take to the Bahamas this year, but you have never taken your sick leave that has accumulated for 3 years since you started the position. Your employer is generous enough to let you use this time you have accrued to take care of your now deathly ill mother. Everything is fine until one day your mother has 2 doctor's appointments. You took the entire day off using sick leave because one was in the morning and one in the afternoon. While in the morning appointment, the afternoon doctor's office calls and cancels her afternoon appointment. You decide to drop her off and go shopping and not go back to work or tell your job the afternoon appointment was canceled. There's an ethical dilemma at this point. You know your job will never know the appointment was canceled because you have gone to so many appointments that they have quit asking. You don't want to use the vacation time because don't forget about the trip to the Bahamas you've already had planned. What do you do at this point? The second scenario deals with your employer. You have a personal issue at home, such as a divorce, maybe, that you're going through, and you do not want everyone to know about. You require counseling sessions and use your sick leave in accordance with company policy. After the third counseling session, your boss requires you to start giving doctor's notes for each session, and he or she sees a notice coming from a therapist's office. At the same time, Bob is going through a divorce and is going to the golf course with his doctor buddy and the boss. They never discuss his issues, rather use the time for luxury golf playing. But Bob is also in cohorts with the boss, and he never requires Bob to bring in notes. Have your rights been violated? Has Bob abused his sick leave rights? The entire point of this presentation is made to show what the right movement is for both scenarios and how to avoid similar occurrences similar to these two scenarios. Sick leave definition. Sick leave is paid leave of absence from work and was established by the Initiative 1433 in Washington state. Sick leave works similarly to vacation and must only be used if it involves personal medical needs, family medical needs, or bereavement, or adoption-related matters. Family is defined in that is a child, which may include a biological, adopted, or foster, a stepchild, or any child who you are legally responsible for in your household. A parent is defined as your biological, adopted, foster, your step-parent, a legal guardian, or their spouse, or any other person who was responsible when you were a minor. Your spouse, of course, is covered. Your grandparents, your domestic partner, your grandchild, or your siblings. Please note, after careful examination and to keep the presentation within its allotted time frame, this research is only performed on the state of Washington laws regarding sick leave. Most companies do not have paid sick leave, so this presentation is irrelevant to employees or employers that are not required to participate in these practices. These companies are covered by FMLA, which is a basis for a completely different topic. Currently, there are only 11 states that have laws regarding paid sick leave in the United States. These are California, Maryland, Washington, Arizona, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Michigan, Rhode Island, New Jersey, Oregon, Vermont, and Washington, D.C. There are 5 states with local laws only, which include Texas, Minnesota, New York, Pennsylvania, and Illinois. First, we will discuss the Washington Initiative 1433, the law aspect of this presentation. There are probably other laws that touch on the subjective scenarios discussed before, but this presentation will mostly address Washington's Initiative 1433, which was passed in 2016 and went into effect January 1st of 2018. The elements of Initiative 1433. Accrual. An employee, regardless of status, full or part-time, must earn 1 paid hour per every 40 hours worked. This means if an employee works 40 hours per week, they will be awarded 1 hour of paid sick leave at minimum. If an employer wishes to increase accrued amounts, it is completely up to them, but they must meet the minimum requirements. You do not earn additional hours for overtime worked unless it is employer specified. Usually overtime will be paid directly or used for compensated time earned. Pay. Pay for the time off should be treated as normal pay. Sick leave must be paid at the normal rate of pay for the employee. The employee will still be taxed, and all other factors will be deducted from the pay, such as insurance or wage garnishments. Verification. An employer may require an employee to provide evidence of the illness or absence exceeding 3 working days as long as it is not a burden or an expense to the employee. If this occurs, the employee is entitled to an appeal. The protection. The employer cannot request any personal information in regard to the employee's personal or situational state. This could result in violation of the HIPAA privacy rule, which says that companies cannot share and must safehold their patients' information. Also, an employer cannot tell other employees the nature of the specific employee's absence unless provided authorization by the specific employee. An employer cannot discipline an employee for the use of sick leave. This means the employer cannot retaliate against an employee who uses sick leave for approved purposes. How can it be used? Sick time can be used for personal, mental, or physical illness, injury, or health condition, or if you need a medical diagnosis or preventative medical care. If a family member, which was listed above, needs care for mental or physical illness, injury, or health condition, or needs a medical diagnosis or preventative medical care as well. If your workplace or your child's school or place of care has been closed for any health reasons by order of a public health official, or if you're absent for work for reasons that qualify for leave under the state's Domestic Violence Leave Act. When can it be used? At 90 days, an employee is eligible to use their sick leave through their employer. Any time up to 40 hours must accrue and continue to carry over year after year. This is a minimum requirement, and an employer may choose to allow more time to accrue and cap it off at any point as long as the minimum is met. Abuse. If an employer can prove that abuse of sick leave was performed by the employee, they can take legal actions. The employer can deny pay of the sick leave during the proven time of use, but cannot deduct sick leave from the sick leave accrual bank the employee has created. The employer must notify the employee with evidence of the misuse of the sick leave and provide notice that they will not receive the pay for their sick leave time. The employer may then take legal disciplinary actions that must be defined in the employee handbook. Reasonable notice. An employer can require reasonable notice for appointments or other scheduled sick times off as long as it is stated in the employee handbook. Otherwise, practical notice should be given by the employee that is lengthy time as possible. This is courteous. So now that we have discussed some of the law that governs our two situations, has your viewpoint moved on the law portion of this presentation? Which scenario, or did both violate the Initiative 1433 in Washington State? The answer should be both violated it, but we will discuss that later on. The next topic I would like to discuss is ethics. From our required text, we can see that there is a somewhat fuzzy definition of ethics. The textbook states that the word ethics coexists with the words morals, values, and principles. Psychological construct that characterizes a process by which an individual determines that one course of action in a particular situation is morally right and another course of action is morally wrong is how John R. Sparks and UPenn define ethics. This is a perfect definition of ethics, as there is always a right and a wrong answer. Sometimes, however, the two conflict and there's what is considered an ethical dilemma. As you can see in both scenarios presented above, both cases present ethics and ethical dilemmas. So back to scenario 1. What is the ethical issue or dilemma in our two scenarios? In the first scenario, we can see that you have spent so much time with your mother in her immediate time of need, you just needed the afternoon to reflect on yourself and have some you time. You still want to save up vacation and take that time to go to the Bahamas, but that will not be possible this year if you write down vacation for your afternoon. According to the Washington Initiative 1433, you would be violating sick leave definitions. So the answer is yes, this is unethical. This year you should probably skip the Bahamas and probably take some more time with your ill mother that doesn't relate to doctor related or health issues. Maybe just spend some time with her. In scenario number 2, your employer knows that you are going to a therapist. The ethics of this boss and the company are morally wrong in this situation. You are playing by the books while Bob is having a grand time with the boss while taking sick leave and is not required to have documentation for his leave. This could definitely make the company viable for discrimination lawsuits or for treating other employees unequally. The ethics of this business must change in order for no discrimination or violation of the initiative to be violated. How to reduce it. I have developed a few ideas to reduce sick leave by employees for employers based on the findings of Kangas, Motueka, Hutala, Kikanganis, and Feld. 1. Pay your employees for unused sick time when they leave. This will create initiative for an employee to stay longer with you. When an employee sees financial figures, they are less likely to abuse policy. Number 2, keep your ethics strong in the workplace. Make the workplace and environment enjoyable for an employer. They're much less likely to abuse sick leave if they enjoy what they're doing. And lastly, if you work with your employees, they will work with you. Make it easy for them to ask time off. Everyone has life outside of work, and everyone's going to need time off from time to time to enjoy themselves. Or not enjoy themselves, take care of themselves, I should say. And in conclusion, from this presentation, we can see that sick leave is the new conduct of business that still needs some refining. Overall, a sick leave policy for every business will probably come into play at some point. Also, we can see that ethics and law can usually point out the right and wrong answers or solutions to each problem or scenario at hand. I hope this presentation has brought some insight into Washington's 1433 initiatives and other laws and ethics regarding sick leave policy. Thank you for watching.